preparing young people for marriage and family life. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to share in 10 minutes. From a few years of studies, I've just narrowed up the entire system that we live in and with God. That God illustrates the unity of the family, which we are talking about today. God also illustrates humanity and government. God illustrates Israel, and God also illustrates the church which I represent. The most important of all this is family. Through the family, God illustrates God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit according to the Christian religion. Through the family, God also illustrates the relationship that links up the three. And through the family, God sought out to bring proper relationship among human beings. God's purpose of human government is to keep order. All the rules and regulations is an expansion and amplification of the Ten Commandments. The church illustrates us coming together. The human family began by God himself pronouncing that it is not good for man to be by himself or for man to be alone. So he brought a helpmate, which is the woman. The woman had an absolute essential need in a family. He had a lot of responsibility to promote love and relationship among the family. The vocation of marriage or the career of marriage is a long-term issue. When you marry, you make a full, unconditional promise to yourself and your spouse. When the teaching of preparation of marriage, it helps the young ones to understand precisely what they are in for. That is why in other Christian religions, it takes you a long time, sometimes 6 months, sometimes 3 months, sometimes 12 weeks to go through all this. And the most notable example, most often when I'm doing a teaching counsel on marriage, is to cite Abraham and Sarah. Most of you know the account. They stayed for a long time, and at the end of it all, they only had one issue, which was Isaac. When we are in the process of preparing them, some questions come on board. Are you really entering into marriage with the same attitude that we find around yourself, other boy or girl in this house? Emotion alone does not go into marriage. Your feelings alone does not go into marriage. Like a quotation from the Spanish writer, philosopher Ortega Gasset, it said, human being is divided into two categories. Those who place demand on themselves and those who also applies demand on others. And on one area of every spouse needs to work is communication. I think this has been mentioned already. Look at a happy marriage and find out what is going on. Communication. Look at a marriage that is breaking apart. Lack of communication. So communication is so important in us teaching our young ones to be together and understand one another. Few observations. We have recognized differences between men and women. Men will do things logically. Put A, B, C, D, and you get the answer. But women are not so. Our mothers will tell us. Women have great strength, and they are people-oriented. They take interest in family feelings, and they want to communicate and understand issues. Maybe because of our tendency, sometimes we men don't have enough time to sit down and listen and hear precisely what is going on. So husbands tend to tune out and put some figures and answers to questions which need more further communication. Sometimes we say that men also have their emotional side. There's a popular writer who said men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Most of the account, I don't really believe in that. But this is the nature of man. So we adults, we need to prepare our boys, and the women also prepare their girls to be able to enter into this marriage. I have few tips for you. St. Aquinas said, to love is to will the good of another. To love is to will the good of another. If you decide that the good of that person to whom you are married is the most important thing in your life, then you must appreciate that so. Marriage is far different from friendship. Marriage is a continual courtship. If you are flying from London to Aberdeen, I think the pilots tell us that they burn most of the fuel before they land. Marriage doesn't end only in your first time of courtship or your honeymoon. You need more fuel to carry you to the end. Successful spouses listen to each other. They listen. Among the first speakers, she expressed the importance of communication. Good spouse made quality time for themselves, not only for the children when they have them around. You need to go outside, maybe to the coffee shop, and sit down and settle a matter, talk about an issue properly over a coffee or a tea cup. Learn to use cheerfully in matters of personal preference. We have to be cheerful in all aspects. William James said, the sovereignty of our cheerfulness is so important in marriage that it becomes a very wonderful atmosphere for couples. Whenever I speak at assembly like this, I stress on couples who live together before marriage. It doesn't work that way. Marriage starts when there's nothing like a trial marriage. There's nothing like a trial marriage. If you try the marriage, you will fail. And most of those that have gone ahead of us, they can tell us, do I really want to share this person's values? Because when you try the marriage, some questions will be overlooked. You have to ask yourself questions. Do I really share this person's value? Do I want my children to have this person's value? Sometimes it is doubtful. Sometimes areas like money, in-laws, children, religion, and financial budget is overlooked because of the trial. Finally, marriage works better if there is recognition by the couple of their dependence of God. Because marriage comes from God. He created that institution. He saw that it is not good for man to be alone, or it is not good for the female, for the male to be alone. He made a female as a companionship. St. Aquinas, he said that marriage can be so difficult that it requires a special grace from God, but we must be open to that. The one that created marriage, we always have to make reference to him. Couples about to marry are embarking on a great adventure. We ought to be aware. Pope John Paul II said, the future of humanity passes through the family. In getting married, you are entering a much bigger picture. The health of our society depends on the health of his family. And by working to build a fruitful and happy marriage, we are doing the things that the past generation has done for us. God bless you all.